Hello everyone, welcome to the second game of Rewriters of History. We're just missing one player right now, and she might show up later. But in the meantime, we're going to start this. When last we met, your characters were all in the middle of a police investigation concerning a series of murders that swept Cleveland in the 1930s. You are currently all near the body of a murder victim, decapitated and under police interrogation. And we had stopped the game just as the famous Eliot Ness had arrived at the scene and had started talking with someone. He was already in a conversation with Eric Douglas, who was claiming to be a detective hired by a family of the victims in order to help the case. That's where we had stopped.
Now that you summarize it, it doesn't seem a good idea what I did.
And you know what? I would have forgotten you had done that too if I hadn't listened to the end of the recording just before the game. So thank you for recording the games for us, Jonathan, so that this can happen.
Yeah, you recording the games has been the best thing because I have the worst memory, especially when I'm chosen in certain groups to recap on the game sessions. I'm like, I got nothing. So it's really nice to be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
All of your characters are lined up together, and the detective Patrick O'Bonnell rounds you all up in the same corner of the street and says, well, you're talking with me. I'm asking the questions right now. Don't bother Mr. Ness while he's leading the investigation, okay? All right, so what are you doing around here this late at night?
That's a complicated question that deserves a complicated answer.
Mr. Detective, would you like to take said question for us?
I'm a private investigator, so technically detective refers more to police. I'm a private investigator, so maybe it's why the confusion.
So, what were you doing here with this lot this late at night? You're all dressed very fancy. It's pretty unusual for a poor side of town like this. You must have stuck out like a sore thumb, huh?
Well, Mr. Detective O'Bonnell, my team and me are leading the investigations in order to catch the murderer, and we were trying to follow leads, and we pretty much found this completely by hazard.
By accident, you mean?
Yeah.
You're not from around here.
Yeah, by accident. We're the one that warned you, just to remember you.
Yeah, I suppose. Can I see your license?
Yes. Can I pull out and give it to him?
He starts looking at it, and he raises an eye very high, and he says, this was issued in 1998. Are you
I thought the people that sent us in the past adapt everything we had on us.
Apollo didn't know, the specific details of how to make a license for a private investigator. It's not among their field of knowledge, so that's one of the things that hasn't been updated.
Okay, I have an ID. You're not the first one that's telling me. I've requested a new one that's a printing mistake.
Okay.
You certainly don't think I'm coming from the future, huh?
No, but I am starting to wonder if you're from the US. Could you roll for subterfuge to try to convince him that it's a printing mistake?
Subterfuge. Is there anything else I can roll except subterfuge? Persuasion?
Yeah, you can roll persuasion. Go ahead.
If we cast, or how do you call it, when we use the verses, is it obvious? Is it some kind of ritual?
Okay. So all you need to cast a verse is to say the sentence that is associated with the verse out loud, If you want to whisper it, you need to spend one more karma point, and it makes it much more discreet. Now, there are some verses that are not discreet at all. For example, Slipnir will...
there's a sound of hooves, and yeah.
And if someone casts Oracle, their eyes glow brightly, and while they say a prophecy, their voice becomes echoey, so that can attract a bit of attention. So it depends on some verses. So, Jonathan, you roll a 23 in persuasion, and Obono is quite convinced that you are a team of people who were just really trying to help out with the investigation. And it's all been a big misunderstanding, I understand. You gotta understand, around these parts, there's a lot of people from out of the country. And it's usually those people who are causing all of the problems. That's why, because you sound a bit Canadian, you know? That's why I had to be suspicious.
I understand, detective. That's your job, to be suspicious.
Mm-hmm. So, what have you found out already, huh?
From our pre-analysis on the body, it was a precise cut for the head, pretty much like the other victim, so it suggests that the murderer got some knowledge in medicine. Also, it was dropped here after the killing, and looking at the state of the body, unwashed, and the clothing, it's probably a poor person. So that's what we have, actually.
Yeah, well, nothing new on this side. All of the people who've been killed in the past have been vagrants. While this is happening, Eliot Ness is talking loudly nearby. Apparently, the medical officer on staff tonight broke his ankle in a hunting accident, so there is no one to examine the body properly. Detective O'Bonnell goes up to him and explains that his son's wife's father is the Judge Martinel Sweeney himself, and that the judge's cousin has a workshop nearby and he's a good doctor, that cousin. He's been to the war and all, so he won't mind inspecting a body. Eliot interrupts O'Bonnell's third anecdote to send him to fetch the doctor, and he turns his attention to you, holding a pen and a paper to write down the rest of O'Bonnell's report. So, what can you tell me about the time you discovered the body and what you were doing?
But like I said, we were just trying to find a new lead, and we were coming here to maybe find a witness, find someone in the slums, and we just found the body.
In the middle of the night?
Well, murderer tends to move around at night, so it's more profitable to try to find things on the night.
The Kingsbury Run's butcher, he doesn't strike every week, so you got pretty lucky there.
Yeah, we were not really expecting to find a new victim, to be honest. That's unfortunate series of events.
I understand. We should stay in touch in case we need to ask any more questions of you. Where are you staying in town?
Do we know any hotel?
Yeah, I don't think any of your characters would know enough about
anything.
1930s Cleveland.
Well, I will say the hotel in the center of the town. And then we will find out the name of it.
Yeah. He writes this down, and he's going to ask all of your names in order to make sure he can find you again.
I will introduce myself by my real name.
Okay. Do you all introduce?
No, I tell him my name is Kevin Smith.
I will introduce myself as Joe Bill.
Okay.
Eric Douglas for myself. I don't care.
Yeah, you showed him your IDs. Well, he cannot inspect the future to see who we are. So.
Yeah, so
The
man.
real name is good enough, yeah.
I just don't trust easy.
There is a blinding flash of light, and turning, you see that a few journalists, all wearing the same beige-colored suits, are taking pictures of the crime scene and asking for an interview from Eliot, and he has to leave you for a bit to attend to the public opinion. The rest of the policemen are asking questions from the neighbors, and they're getting just as little answers as you have been, and that leaves you a few minutes with no supervision on the crime scene. What do you do?
We already inspect the crime scene, so
Yeah.
Is this name of the doctor that's being fetched something any of us would know with some sort of check?
It depends. If you have the domain medicine, you could do an erudition check. He's not famous, but his cousin is. So if you have the law or politics as a domain, you can roll erudition at -6 to know details about his cousin, and maybe even details about him.
And Simon, if I understood correctly, the usual medical doctor of the police broke his ankle, and someone talked about this person, correct?
Yeah, Obono said that his son's wife's father is the Judge Martin L. Sweeney himself, and that the judge's cousin is the doctor.
Okay, I would suggest that we try to figure out this doctor and also the usual police medical investigator that is not here that broke his ankle. Would suggest that we double check the story. Maybe he, well, long shot, but maybe he hurt himself while killing this victim.
That, you could be right. It might be a long shot, but
Yeah. And let's figure out.
sure would be convenience.
Yeah. Let's find out when the previous murders were committed. So we have dates, and then we can. Maybe this doctor has an alibi for each time. Now
yeah.
it's ankle.
Try
now
and make
it's-
connections.
Yeah.
Probably not something we should ask any of the detectives, since we've already told them that we've been looking into this case. Or that
Yeah.
we're hired for this case, so.
If we can somehow collect newspapers from the past.
We have journalists
months.
here.
Yes.
If we can just collect anything or anyone that is open to sharing news from the past couple of weeks or months, depending on how long this has been going on, I feel like we easily get that information. Just a matter of either doing it discreetly through looking entirely on our own, or talking to people that we know won't go and tell anybody about it.
So we should avoid journalists then.
No. Why? They are also collecting information. Are those journalists have some, I don't know, name of the papers they belong to, or they're just commonly dressed and asking questions? How many of those are there?
Yeah, that could be a good idea to just ask them if they have something that the police don't have, maybe.
There are 6 journalists present at the scene at the moment.
How many time they arrived after the police arrived?
About 10-15 minutes. Some of them are still arriving, but if they arrive this quickly, it's probably because they had been camping near a police station waiting for something like this.
Maybe we can have one journalist selected to be our friend.
If anything, one of us could go up and just say that as a way to confirm that we have all of our research right, we compare notes with them and
Yeah,
then get the information.
If you
compare
guys
notes, we need
Yeah.
notes.
If you guys want, I can approach one journalist and convince him that we are from future, and he will truly know that we are from future.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Oh god.
And then he will be, and we will say we are here to to make investigation, and we need your help. But I'm thinking, yeah.
If you want to go to the local asylum,
No. He will actually totally know that I'm telling the truth.
I'm going to point out that when we do this in real life, we probably don't want to be screwing around with time all that much. Saying we're from
Yeah, I'm
the future.
just for you to know what's on the table. Yeah. If we need some journalists to believe us and to totally convince him to help us, maybe we can go with true story, and he will know that it's true.
how?
There's also not talking with anyone and just going to the library and looking at their archives that have to do with these murders.
Yeah, we can look to the newspapers and see at least the dates when the previous murders were committed.
Exactly.
While you are talking amongst each other, about the journalists. You're looking at them, and like 5 of them are concentrating on Eliot Ness, and there's the 6th one who has a dog with him, and he is looking in your direction, but he seems like he's not stepping onto the crime scene, but he seems to be wondering about your presence on the crime scene. And he's looking at you while you talk.
I will try to catch his eye and nod in agreement or salute.
He waves at you, and discreetly he points to the side of the street where there's less policemen, and he starts heading over there with his dog.
Yeah, I will start whistling and slowly walk towards the point where he's going.
This is what he looks like, except that he is not beaten up. And this is what his dog looks like. And he extends his hand and says, Francisco Dolsa, Cleveland Inquirer. Can I ask you a few questions?
Well, sure. We also have a few questions, so let's exchange the words.
Sure. So, who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm Mr. Stefan Lisowski. I'm a professor of chemistry, guest professor at the university for a few days. We were just walking the streets when we stumbled upon this victim, corpse.
Oh, not very lucky, are you?
Oh no, it is not a sight to behold.
Would it be possible for me to take a picture of all of you as the people who found another body? The last person who found a body became a bit famous around here.
I see why not.
Okay.
Do the rest of us hear this conversation?
Yeah, they moved a bit farther, but if you want, anyone can join in on the conversation.
I would have been close enough to at least listen in a little bit.
Same for me.
And I
will signal your guys quietly to approach under the island.
Yeah, I'll just come up and say, so what are we doing here?
And I will point to the Mr. Francisco. He's a journalist from a local newspaper. I'm just inquiring if there is anything enlighten us. So tell me, Mr. Francisco, these murders, are there pairs or they're common these days?
We have found 2 or 3 bodies a year for the past 4 years. Depends on the year. Sometimes the murderer feels a bit more enthusiastic, and some years he's a bit more discreet.
And the bodies, are they all the same? You said the head was cut, right?
Oh yes, the police hasn't found this. So some of the heads, usually it takes a few days before the heads are found. So, some of them still haven't found. We cannot identify who the victims are. And did you see anyone around here? Anyone suspicious in the part of town?
No, we have not, but with our modest knowledge in medicine, we deduce that this body may be not even be murdered here, but somewhere else and dragged over here. I'm not sure. We're not medical personnel per se.
So Francisco Dolsa, you hear him scratching furiously at the paper upon which he's taking notes. Oh, that is not information that we had before. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Can I ask him if all the victims were male, or they're also female victims?
Let's see. So far, there have been 4 female bodies found and 5 male bodies found. With this one right here.
Okay, and they're all kind of low social status, like poor, or there were some crimes even in higher ranks?
They're all from around here.
So this area is kind of where the killer is operating?
Oh, yes. It is a Kingsbury Run. It is a very, very poor place. We didn't identify most of the victims because there are so many vagrants around here. They just pass through town and we don't know who they are, and then they get killed, and we can never identify them.
Did police find anything more at some point, or they're just stumbling through the darkness and don't see anything more than this that we know now?
Well, they do a lot of press conferences to tell us about all of the progress that they're doing, but usually it's a lot of blah 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 for not a lot of progress. And his dog starts to bark, and he says, "Shh, Mrs. Raffles, shoot!" And you can see that O'Bonnell is back now. He is asking the journalists to let the police do their jobs, and when he sees Francisco Dolce talking to you, he moves towards you, and he says, "Get out of here, you vultures! You're contaminating the crime scene." And he sucker punches Francisco Dolce.
Can I attempt to block him?
After the first punch, you see Francisco is moving back, and O'Bonnell keeps moving forward. So yeah, he's going to try to attack again. So you can do a.
I'm just gonna put between them and say, whoa, 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 calm down, detective.
O'Bonnell says, "This fucking Italian. He keeps popping up at every crime scene and impeding on the investigation. I won't have this. Fuck off." And Dolce is quietly retreats deeper into the barely lit street, but he's going to stay nearby from a distance if you want to talk to him. In the background, some of you notice that the doctor has finally arrived at the crime scene, and he looks like this.
He looks really depressed.
And he quickly dismisses any lingering doubts that you might be the murderers. After examining the body, he declares that this is very likely another victim of the Cleveland torso murder. The same decapitation and lack of blood suggests a strong person with some anatomical knowledge. And since you were the first ones on the scene, the doctor argues you would still have blood on you from moving the body, since you wouldn't have had time to change. And you hear this from a distance while he's talking with Eliot. And Eliot thanks the doctor and comes towards you and says, "Well, it seems you're free to go, but I'd like for you to come to the station the day after tomorrow in case you remember anything else that could be of use. We could get the whole account from you down, and it would be a lot of help. We are sort of reaching for leads at the moment."
Detective Ness, may I talk to you in private?
Yes. He steps away from the crime scene.
Since when you are working on this investigation?
I've only been on this investigation since last year. Why?
What do you think about Detective O'Bonnell?
He looks at O'Bonnell, looks back at you, and he says, "O'Bonnell is really trying to solve this case, and I'm not going to say anything else unless you explain why you want to know."
He's pretty aggressive. He attack a journalist physically and punch him. It's not really...
It does not become his profession. Eliot says, "Well, have you been reading what those guys are writing on us every day?"
I can understand that it can be disturbing, and I understand how you can feel, but both of you should treat both of you as ally, not as enemy. But anyway, that's not the point where I wanted to go. After the murder, what's the procedure like? What he's doing special, except checking the crime scene?
Hold on. I understand you're trying to solve this case. So are we. Don't come and tell us how to do our jobs, please. I already have the journalists and the judge on my back trying to tell me how I should do things, okay? So if you're going to criticize either how we do things or how O'Bonnell does things, we're not going to be able to cooperate very well, okay?
Detective Ness, I have the high respect for you, and it's not a criticism. I'm just trying to bring a new point of view. You know, sometimes when someone from the same professions take a look and say, "Oh, maybe we could have do that," it can just be a positive brainstorm and could lead you to a good lead.
All right. Well, the procedure is the usual one. We bring the body in, we keep it at the morgue, and we have more inspection. And after that, we try to ask around and see if we can identify the victim based on people who might have known them. Except, well, in this neighborhood, it's pretty hard to get anyone to cooperate with anyone who looks remotely like the police. You might want to dress a bit less nice if you want to get people to cooperate with you around here. I can see you've got a silver tongue. It will work much better for you if you look like you belong here.
I understand.
And can we talk to Mr. Edward Sweeney, the doctor?
Yeah, he is standing to the side, and he is wiping just small amounts of blood off of his hands that he got there from examining the body with a very clean tissue. Some journalists have tried to talk to him, but he has brushed them off and not sort of ignored them. But now he's just looking at how the crime scene is unfolding. And when he sees you coming towards him, he raises his chin, waiting for you to talk first.
Well, I will introduce myself as Professor Lisowski, the professor of chemistry. It's probably not a good thing to get up in the middle of the night to investigate the crime scene. Not the better of days, right?
Yeah.
Is this the first body that you inspected from this murder?
They usually have someone from the task force to do it. The only reason I'm here is because the inspector knew about me and knows that I have a workshop that's nearby. Are you a journalist? I don't want to be involved in any of this.
We discovered the body. I'm a professor of chemistry. I'm a guest lecturer at the University of Cleveland for a few days. It is just unfortunate that we stumbled upon this body. And well, we were just curious about the case, since, as I heard, it was going on for years now, right?
Oh, yes.
Do you maybe know, if I may ask, about the medical examiner that ought to be here from the police? I heard he has some injury. Do you know maybe of him?
I don't know who it is. I don't have much contact with.
I understand.
But you are you the University of Cleveland?
Well, I'm a professor of University from Prague, but just visiting for a few guest lectures. So
Alright.
I'm pretty new to this town.
He seems a bit confused by what you're saying, but he doesn't press you any further.
Can I make a check to see if there is actually a University of Cleveland yet?
Once again, it's like really difficult knowledge to have, but you can make an empathy check if you want to check that based on Edward's reaction.
Alright.
Okay, so you take your light side dice, I would assume.
Yes.
When you roll a 12, what you can do is you can re-roll and add your previous result to your next T12, but that is sufficient to pass the test. The Cleveland University was founded in 1964, so a bit more than 20 years in the future from where you are right now. Which is why the doctor is a bit confused at this stage.
I'm going to wander up to them and say, my apologies, doctor. My uncle is somewhat confused at times. As you can see, he's getting a little old.
What? I cannot hear you. Soup? Yeah, I want soup.
Philip is just trying to hold back laughter in the background, watching this go down.
Let's go. We eat soup.
Okay. You can see the police. One of them takes a picture of how the body is positioned, despite the fact that, that some policemen kicked it and moved it a bit. And then they take the body and they put it in the trunk of one of their cars, and one of the cars drives off towards...
Simon? You just told that someone took a picture, but the police moved the body, correct?
Yes, someone in the police took a picture of how it's supposed to be, but some policemen, as I had described at the beginning of the previous game, they had kicked the body in the sense of like they had nudged it with their feet to try to like inspect it. So the position of the body taken on that photo is probably just like wrong.
I'm gonna go see the photographer and tell him like what was the position when we found the body, and I'm gonna ask if one of them was on the scene. I want to see if there's a correlation between the position of the body between the murder, because obviously the picture do not reflect the reality. So maybe if we can connect this, it could give us a lead.
You start talking to this policeman with a camera, and the policeman has like deep bags under his eyes, and you talk to him and he says, yeah, listen, mates, if you want to check the pictures of the bodies, you can come to the station and ask the chief of police, and they'll show you the pictures. Just like right, I like it. Just right now, I just wanna go back home or to get a coffee before I write in this report. Okay, but. Listen, as far as I know, the policemen who've just been taking care of inspecting the bodies, they haven't moved it too much, and the murder wasn't here. Okay, the murderer dropped the body here, which means that the position. I mean, I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to lead us to a breakthrough because we've looked through it like 1,000 times already.
Is it usual that you find a body that is dumped somewhere after it's killed?
Oh yeah. The murderer,
So maybe
at first he kept dropping the bodies like in the woods, in the river, and like recently he's been dropping them like closer and closer to town and in the middle of the street, like right there. That is ballsy. I know we're about to catch him.
I go up. I've been listening in, and I'll just pop in and say, has there been any investigation or tracking to try and find where the bodies were originally killed? Depending on how skilled this murderer is, there might be a track left.
The policeman, he blinks for a second, and then he starts to talk, and you can tell that he's reciting this from memory, from probably a report. And he says, the only murder which we have confirmed where it happened was because the murderer left the body there, and we know this because the blood pooled underneath the body was in the middle of the woods, and it's quite possible that it was the first murder. It's just it was found as the 5th victim because it took a long time for us to find it. And apart from that, the place of the murders is unknown, and it is believed that the murderer has a place where the murders take place. Any hints from civilians would be greatly appreciated regarding suspicious places.
The streets around us, are they wide enough to drive a car through them?
Yes, the policemen have come here in cars. This is practically a shanty town. As you can see on the image, like some of the roofs are made of different parts of metal, and the houses have been built a bit like in a chaotic way. The streets aren't straight at all, and it might be difficult to maneuver a car through here, but the streets are usually wide enough for 2 or 3 cars to move through them.
Okay. I'm guessing that he probably dropped the body from the car, not going through, not carrying around on the back.
Hey guys, I have some sort of theory. Well, I'm gonna share it to you and tell me what you think. How about that the murderer is going somewhere with the body, like that if we track the position of all the body, maybe it could lead us to understand where we would drop the next body. Maybe he's doing a line to I don't know, police station, the specific house, his house.
Yeah, maybe it's approaching some goal or something.
I was thinking that too, like if whether or not the bodies seem their locations that they were found aligned in any way, or like if we mapped out where they were found, if like it might lead to some code or something, or if it will just be completely random. It would be interesting if they're all going towards the same direction, but I don't know.
Because the policeman said it was coming from outside the city to inside. River, woods, now streets.
Yeah, the thing is, like, was it all from the same direction, or like, was it like just all around the town?
I think we should. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Let's find then. We have few lists to investigate. The list of murders, the list of times when murders occur, the list of places where the bodies are found. Basically, there's a 3 lists that we can maybe investigate.
And the doctor that broke his ankle, and the doctor that came, and the usual.
Yeah.
How about we note that?
I'm curious about whether or not we can find the original murder scenes, because for a body to be beheaded would cause quite an amount of blood, and unless they prepared for that enough to where they had a situation where they could like lay out towels or something and then burn them.
If he murders someone by cutting the heads, like you said, there's blood and there's So
and that person is probably tied up or not conscious because the cut is too clean to be made in a fight or something like that.
So we could see if some tranquilizer are missing somewhere, and also I think it would work that we just walk around and peek inside, abandoned house, place that maybe we could be lucky and find something. If we see a house where it's all billboard and maybe it could be the location where it was killed, because apparently they're not gonna do that, the police here.
Simon, as a chemist, do I know if there is a way to detect traces of some elements in a body in the late 30s or 30s?
This technology has only been developed later, but it is possible to know which neighborhoods someone has been in based on the mud on the soles of their feet or on the soles of their shoes. And if you took the time to go to the different neighborhoods and took samples and had access to the shoes of a victim, you could know where which neighborhoods they had been in, and it might give you some clues. This technology, I don't think the police are using it yet. But you could do it with your knowledge of chemistry.
Sure, I want to make some chemical trails that we can follow. If we cannot trace the substance in a body or something like that. But I will take a sample of a little bit. I will just dip my, handkerchief in blood, and also take the mud from the shoes, like on my sleeve, rub my sleeve against it before they move it, something like that.
There's just a bit of mud and blood left on the crime scene after they moved the body, so that you're able to sample it.
Okay.
Now, just one thing. I want to explain one of the game mechanics for research before we move on to anything else. Research in this game works this way. Every half of a day that you spend researching, you can make a documentation roll at varying difficulties depending on what you're researching. And if you have a success, you found an information that relates to your search. And from there, you can research something else, or you can just basically, like, every roll is half a day. Okay?
Okay.
Max, you were about to say something.
Yes, I do. I have a question for Theo and Eric. Do either of you have canine tracking training? Because there is a dog right here at the crime scene that we could potentially use if they, in fact, did not use a car to dump the body here.
I feel like that would probably be a survival check.
For a dog. Dog, make a survival check.
Yeah, it would either be a survival check to get the dog to do it, or a persuasion check with a big penalty.
I have pretty decent survival. I could try.
Alright, so for plans right now, we've got do research on mapping out where the bodies have been, track them with footprints, and potentially, maybe as a long shot, track them with the dog.
I think that's what we have, as long as the doctor. I think Mr. Lewoski said another thing that we should follow.
Well, it's just the times when the murderer have, because it's pretty sparse, like 1, 2, or 3 in a year.
Yeah.
So we are good for a few months.
Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah.
Unless this murderer decides to up his game. Or...
Yeah.
The evil GM laugh.
Judging
Who
by
wants
that
to do
laugh,
what?
I think it's a good idea for us to get started on this.
I agree.
Who wants
I think
to?
it's a good idea, especially because, it is understandable to think that nothing will happen for a while, but I think if we let our guard down, then we're just only gonna...
We're all gonna die.
Exactly. So I say we better keep expecting it, because even if we don't find a body, we might find other clues or signs that we otherwise wouldn't notice because we're just looking for a body.
So who wants to do what? Myself, I would be up to do the mapping and find a pattern. Mr. Lewoski should go with his chemical analysis.
The question is, I need some equipment for that.
Maybe
I can even go to police and said that I'm a chemistry professor and I'm pretty interested in solving those crimes, so I have a few theories that I can test if they borrow me their
Yeah, sure.
equipment.
That could
The
work.
only problem with that is that they might believe you're either going to try and steal the case, or because they don't know you, not trust you to
Then I will tell to all of them that I'm from future and they will believe me.
Do we think that's the best route for this?
Look, I come from a future, I don't have much time. Now, cooperate, please. No, I will ask them. I have some theories and I can explain to their experts what are my intentions so they can evaluate it if they want help or not. You can go to library, find the newspaper articles. Well, if we are going to visit those locations, probably we should go all. If we are visiting the crime scenes. I will need the samples of mud and dirt from there also. So let's do that first.
Visit all the crime scenes,
Yeah.
get information, and go visit.
Let's go in the morning to the library, check all the articles, find out what are the places that they found bodies, go there, start from there. There is like nine places we should visit.
You're not of the part to think that doing 4 things at the same time, except on only one, would be more efficient?
Well, at least when it comes to investigating the murder scenes, I think it would be, because we'll all probably notice different things.
If it's a real life, I will say yes. If it's a role-playing game, don't split apart.
The one thing that actually is time sensitive is the K9, so if we do that, I think we have to do that.
Yeah.
Somewhere immediately.
There's a dog
Otherwise-
barking.
Let's catch Francis Dolsa, the guy that was punched by inspector, and see if maybe his dog is any kind of help, or if he can sniff something, or...
Hi everyone, and thank you for watching this video. If you want to be a part of this story, we are currently looking for more players and game masters to play new games in this setting and on this channel. You can also be a part of the story by having your face added to the cast of characters. I draw all of the images for this game, and you can commission me to make you into an NPC. If you like the style and you want a drawing like that of yourself, or if you want to contribute to the project, you can contact me through the links in the description. Finally, if you want to keep up with all of the adventures on this channel, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so you can get a notification each time we upload the next episode of this story. And it would be very nice of you to like and share the video to help this channel grow. Have a nice day, everyone.